Notifications or what? Oh, we're started. We are recording.
Yes.
Hi, I am.
I'm so mad about the Elijah Jones thing. Okay. Hi, you guys are watching the Mac and Cheese podcast. Today is Brady. I didn't where you're from. Dang it. Your Facebook will be in the bio, so if you want to follow them there, please do. Okay. Ooh, are you ready for the first question?
I am ready for the first question, Mary.
Oh, you can see them. I forgot. Dang it. This is a question that has been asked from Tom Grossi's episode a couple of episodes ago. But I'm curious, what is your favorite matchup between the Packers and someone else from the AFC? If you would want to see them again, who should it be against the Packers? Super Bowl, assuming the Packers are in it.
Okay, so Super Bowl matchup with an AFC team. That to me is a no-brainer. That's the Jets, without a doubt. Packers, Jordan Love in his second year as the starter against Aaron Rodgers, his mentor. That's fireworks to me. Now, understanding that if the Jets can't find a way to protect Aaron Rodgers, there's no way in hell that's going to happen.
Right.
However, with the defense they had, and I believe in Saleh, I think he's a really good coach, and they have Aaron Rodgers who just, 4 snaps in, snaps his Achilles. I think he comes back with a vengeance. And again, does he have the weapons? Does he have the offensive line? I mean, O-line, I don't think he does have. Running game, and they just got rid of Dalvin Cook, waived him, released him, I forget which. But if I could wave a magic wand and number one, know that the Green Bay Packers are in the Super Bowl, I'm going to do that. But number two, if I had got to choose who the AFC matchup was, it would be the New York Jets, regardless of how bad they've been for so long. They've got Aaron Rodgers. When you have Aaron Rodgers, you have a chance. Yeah. Except when you play the Green Bay Packers in the Super Bowl under Jordan Love when Aaron Rodgers is 41 years old. So we win it, number one. Right. And number two, we win it against Jordan Love's former mentor and Hall of Fame quarterback, one of the best it's ever been. How great does that make you feel going into the next? So they would have to go probably through the Chiefs. So they would have to be actually a really good team too. Yeah. This is not a joke at that point. Right. But yeah, it's the Jets all day long.
Interesting. A lot of people said Texans. CJ Stroud versus Jordan.
I understand that. Yep. Tom said that, right? Tom said Texans. And I can't believe the Texans game is still a noon game at this point.
Yes.
So I completely understand that. But if I was going to get excited about a game, it wouldn't be CJ Stroud at that point. And frankly, I honestly think CJ Stroud regresses to the mean. I think the Packers beat him during the season. And I think that team that's a well put together team now. They've been doing it kind of quietly, the Texans have for a while now, but I would take the Jets.
Also Stephon Diggs too.
Yes. Right. Oh, good point. Yep. Good point. And although Stephon Diggs, what is his track record at this point? Is it really that good, or is it going to a team being a little bit too much of a diva and then going to another team? This is the third now. So yeah, it might be a question mark, but yeah, obviously a great player.
Or another team that people are saying is the Bills, because the tailgating, like those two teams.
Yep. Oh man, Packers fans and Bills fans. I would not want to be a table.
Nope.
And I would not want to be a beer anywhere in the tri-state vicinity of a Packers Bills Super Bowl. Yeah, completely. It would be fantastic. And Frank, and here's the other thing. What do you think? I mean, for us to play for the Bills to get to another Super Bowl. Now, number one, they've lost 4 of them, and I would want them to lose 5. But at the same time, I have no ill will to the Bills. Their fans are amazing. They haven't been there forever, but I would still want them to lose number 5. So I don't know, that to me, again, I'm going right back to Aaron Rodgers versus Jordan Love. I mean, give me a break. You can't script it better than that.
The only thing I have to say about the Bills is they have Russell Douglas, though.
I know. But we have that 3rd round draft choice. Yeah.
I mean, we drafted Tyrod Hopper.
Well, listen, we can be happy for Rasul Douglas getting to and losing a Super Bowl. I mean, that's really good. How many people can say they did that? He's going to have stories for his grandchildren. Yeah. It's just not going to be beating the Packers in the Super Bowl.
Right. And it's iconic because Brett Favre's Super Bowl was in New Orleans as well.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
And they say it's been 14 years since the 2011 Super Bowl as well.
There's too many things, Mary, that we have to. It has to be this year. It has to.
Also, I mentioned this to Amara on the last episode. How iconic would it be the Packers draft in 2025? How iconic would it be for Roger Goodell or Tom Grossi to announce the 32nd pick the Green Bay Packers select?
Yep. The world champion Green Bay Packers select, and then we pick our next perfect, like, number 1 draft pick that is probably a top 10 to 12 pick, but we're going to get him at 32 because we just scout better than everybody else.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Edgerrin Cooper.
Oh, I know. And we traded back in the 2nd to get Edgerrin Cooper. So yeah.
Okay, but still.
No, I mean that makes it better. Like we could have picked him and we trade back and leave him on the table longer and then still get him because other teams are so dumb. Yeah.
Also, Dontavian Wicks. How in the heck did he drop to round 4 or 5?
Yes. Have you heard I coined a name for him?
No. What did you do?
Devontavian Wicks is his true name.
Oh, yep. I've heard that one a lot.
Well, it came from me. Somebody better give me some credit. I'm just kidding.
I'll give you all credit for that one.
No, but you're right. And see, teams give us crap for not drafting wide receivers in the first round, but we're so successful. And look at the list in the 2nd,
Right.
Devontae and Jordy and Randall and Greg Jennings and blah, blah. It just goes on and on. And I think I think it points to the fact that regardless of how big the city of Green Bay is, the organization is a top-notch organization, period.
Right. Speaking of Randall Cobb, thank you so much for your career, Randall. He officially retired today.
Yes. I didn't see that, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he played for the Jets. So sad.
Okay, so I know. But he got to play with Aaron Rodgers. I'm kind of happy for that part of it where they got to continue and end that way. I would have loved for him to get one with the Green Bay Packers. But I do need to say, Randall Cobb, where was his high school career? Do you know?
No. Was it in Wisconsin?
No, it was not. I'm in Northeast Tennessee, so I'm in Johnson City, Tennessee. The high school football team is Science Hill here.
Oh.
The powerhouse Tennessee football team. I don't know if that's the case now, but back then it was Alcoa, which is Knoxville, Tennessee. So everybody will know where Knoxville, Tennessee is. And the quarterback of that team was none other than Randall Cobb.
Oh, okay.
Who I believe won a state championship, if not more than one. And then, of course, went to Kentucky from there and transitioned to wide receiver. Right. Then broke onto the stage with the Green Bay Packers against the Saints with that kickoff return that just to this day gives me chills. Yeah. Where turned around, flipped upside down, and scores a touchdown. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. What a career. What a guy. A bear slayer. I mean, the highlights. It's
the Bears moment. It's Randall Cobb again.
Yeah, for sure. And he seems like he's got a charity right down here. I was actually trying to get connected with him for that. And just seems like a super down-to-earth, chill dude, and also a really, really great player. So, yeah, for sure.
We're lucky he came back to Lambeau for like about a couple of years when he did.
I know. I was out there. I was at training camp when he did, and I mean, my comments were like, is this guy really the age that it said? I think he was 30 or whatever at the time. It's like, this guy looks like, I mean, he was dynamite out there. Mm-hmm. Didn't end up like the productivity wasn't necessarily there when all was said and done. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I know how that works. It stinks.
So you kind of already talked about this. What is your favorite matchup for the 2024-2025 season coming up?
Well, no, this is my favorite matchup I have not talked about because I'm going to go way off the beaten path. But there is, again, there is absolutely no hesitation that my favorite matchup right now on July 18th, my mom's birthday of 2024, is September 6th, Packers Eagles, Sao Paulo, Brazil. First game in Brazil. Brazil well represented. It's going to look like a home Packers game. We're going to beat the living crap out of the Eagles.
Okay.
And it's the start of the football season. That's all I care about. That is
all
I care about.
I thought you were going to say the Tennessee Titans game at Tennessee.
That's a great. I mean, I want to go to that one. There's one of the other podcasters from the Packernet podcast network that lives like 15 minutes from me here, and I want to go to that one. But as far as games go, to me, it's just I want football back. I want it back, and September 6th is when it's back.
A lot of us do. Well,
yes,
not the first game, but
wait, no, I need to add an addendum to the answer to that question. Okay, so it was a couple of years ago. I got in a bit of an altercation with an Eagles fan, so this is a little bit personal too.
Okay.
Because he asked me, the people that follow me know this story already, but he asked me, which team was better, which is a bad question to ask. If you're an Eagles fan, don't ask a Packers fan which team is better. That's just dumb. Like, you obviously don't know anything. So my response was 2 words: I win. And then I went into the championships and the Hall of Famers and the back-to-back court. And he was drinking at the time. He was slobbering drunk at the time and belligerent and got mad at me. And it almost ended up to be a problem. And I had to walk away. But his question was, which team is on the rise, the Green Bay Packers or the Eagles? And they were going to the Super Bowl at the time.
Okay.
And I said the Green Bay Packers.
Right.
And September 6th. So that's part of the reason September 6th for me has a little more meaning, but we're going to smack them down.
I was going to say the Dolphins is going to be another good one.
Dolphins going to be fantastic. I'm going to love that. But the other thing too, for me, the week 1 matchup against the Eagles. Last year we had a great game, week 1 against the Chicago Bears. We came out guns a-blazing. And then we were not able to carry that out. Because that's the Bears, for crying out loud. Score 38 points against the Bears.
Right.
It's fantastic for Packers fans because the Bears suck, blah, blah, blah. If we fly to Sao Paulo and we win against the Eagles are a legit NFC team right now.
Right.
And if we not only do that, but then consistently play at that level, we're going to win a lot of games. So for me, the importance of that week 1 matchup against the Eagles on September 6th is really could be a touchstone / watershed game for a team. If you're talking about the watershed being between the 2023 season, which the first half was not that pretty. The second half, Jordan Love was playing at an elite level.
Right.
I think we're going to find out maybe what 2024 really could potentially bring for the Green Bay Packers.
I'm saying the Dolphins because it is Joe Barry's revenge game.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
And I'm excited to see that. And it's also usually Florida teams usually do bad in the snow or cold. So, I mean, we saw how bad Derrick Henry did back in 2020.
Right. And that's when freaking AJ Dillon was better that day than. Let's hope he returns to that kind of form.
I mean, it might be Josh Jacobs this time doing it, or Marshawn Lloyd.
Right. I wouldn't be one bit surprised if AJ doesn't end up the 3rd running back on this team.
Oh, okay. I've heard a lot of differences, but okay. Also, it's Tyreek Hill in the snow.
Right, and in grass. Yeah.
Oh, and Tua. How is Tua going to do this year? Concussions.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the one thing I wouldn't want. I have no affinity for Tua Tagovailoa, but I would not want his career to end or bad things to happen to him because of those injuries. And so I'm pretty pleased that he was able to bounce back. But yeah, when he comes to Lambeau Field, I mean, we need to annihilate him. That's just all there is to it. That's what you do. You don't step on the foot against the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field.
It's also going to be snowy. We know the Packers love the snow.
It's the best weather to play football in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Best football memories of my life were in snow.
I bet. 50s jerseys. When do you think we wear them? That's not
What? Say again?
The 50s alternates jerseys. We have one for one more season I think the green and gold, the dark green and gold.
Oh, yeah, they're all green, like with the gold stripes, like the triple stripes.
And the
when do we wear? Is that
first.
what we're wearing this year?
Yep, we have them back again. The 50th. They're alternates.
Which game are we going to play them?
What game do you think?
Okay, so the NFL is going to say Texans. That's at home, right? Because they put it at noon, so they're going to have to figure out some way to make it interesting.
Oh, I heard Cardinals for that.
Okay, I mean, I don't know when. I have no idea when.
I just didn't know if you had a prediction or anything for the 50s.
All I'm doing is thinking about whether the NFL is going to go, gee, we made a mistake making Packers Texans a noon game, for crying out loud.
Also, Packers
noon games are for losers.
Packers 49ers.
Yeah, that would be another good one. Yeah, and I would think, doing it kind of late in the season, and against one of the better billing teams is probably when. But I honestly don't know how they factor those into the equation. So
yeah, I don't know either. It's like I've heard like white helmet alternate twos, white alternate helmets, and I'm like, okay, when are they going to do those? If they do those, I don't care. I think they might do the white alternates during Brazil because of the no green thing or whatever.
Well, that's voided for the NFL Packers. The Packers-Eagles game. Yeah, that's not from what I understand, that is not a thing. I don't think the NFL would ever let that be a thing. It's the rivalry between them and their rivals.
Right.
And so I think they respect that, but I don't think there's any way the NFL is going to say our teams are going to both wear away jerseys just because you say this. I don't think that happens.
That's also a great point that you mentioned that. Both teams are green.
Right. And so, and we're technically the away team, which is great because we don't lose the home game. But again, we may be the ones wearing light jerseys. So it'll be interesting. I don't care. We just need to win. That's all I care about.
See, the thing is, I've mentioned this on so many other podcasts. Saquon Barkley against.
Yeah, if he doesn't get injured in training camp and
true, Saquon Barkley versus Xavier McKinney.
Yeah,
that's going to be the matchup that we get to see. We always do bad against Saquon Barkley. I don't know.
Well, and the thing with the Eagles is if you load the box, you're helping yourself both against a running quarterback and your running games. So I just don't see the problem. Like it does not, that team, we should beat that team as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, sorry. What are your thoughts about this year's Packers free agency class? I mentioned Josh Jacobs, Xavier McKinney. Do you like the choices? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, I'll start off. I have to be honest about it. I told everybody, don't expect the Packers to pick up anybody this offseason.
Yeah.
We had salary cap issues and stuff like that. And then, you hear about Josh Jacobs, and I'm thinking Josh Jacobs, Aaron Jones backfield for like 20 minutes. I was over the moon. And then I realized, no, the reason we got Josh Jacobs is because we're offloading some contracts. Then David Bakhtiari doesn't come back. But those two moves, and in my opinion, so let me talk about Josh Jacobs. You get the best running back off the board. I'll take him over Saquon Barkley. I know that he didn't have a great season yet. This is a guy who was the title holder at the running back position.
Right.
He's a bell cow back, and you can expect him, if we manage him correctly, to, again, I'm knocking on wood, but he's a guy that plays every game generally. Hurt last year, if I remember right. But you add him now, I believe like all of our running backs now are 220 pounds, close to it or more. Okay. And of course, AJ Dillon, almost 250 pounds.
Right.
So my belief is that in a Shanahan system, you should be able to take virtually any serviceable running back and that outside zone scheme, make them close to 1,000-yard rusher, a very serviceable situation. But I think what the Packers are doing, they're doubling down on the fact that defenses are now, they're drafting very athletic, very fast off-ball linebackers. Why? Because you got to cover Shanahan offenses east to west. You got to be able to cover from sideline to sideline, but they're lighter off-ball linebackers. And so I believe that part of the calculus for the Green Bay Packers, and I think this is purposeful, I don't know, is to get bigger at the running back position. And that's why a guy like Aaron Jones, who is absolutely fantastic. I mean, Aaron Jones is unbelievable, but talks start to break down. Josh Jacobs comes available. He wants to play. He wants to play at the right dollar amount, and the Packers move to Josh Jacobs and move away from Aaron Jones. Obviously, there's the age thing too, but I think that this is now an offense that cannot just beat you by scheme, by running you east to west, north to south.
Right.
You got 2-4-3 wide receivers on this team. Elite speed. They can beat you north to south that way. They can get behind you. They've got 2 potentially elite tight ends that can cut underneath and hurt you that way. But they've also got a running game that can just beat the living crud out of you for 4 quarters of football. And I'm very excited about Josh Jacobs being on this team. So that would be part A of my answer. I'll try to be a little shorter on the next one. Xavier McKinney, you pulled the best safety off the board.
Right.
I did not expect that. My biggest concern, Savage had not panned out, had not lived up to his draft status.
Right.
I mean, the best for him, but it just had not worked out. I think his best years were, 4 years ago or whatever it was. But I did not expect the Packers to pay for Xavier McKinney. And when I got news of that, I think that was a huge defensive move. And I think, you got a new defensive coordinator, Jeff Hafley. I think we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But if you give him a Xavier McKinney along with a Kenny Clark, the pass rushers, the Rashawn Garys, the MVSs, all the first-round draft choices we have on this team, you couldn't, as a defensive coordinator, even if you're new to the league, ask for much more than that. Xavier McKinney, I am so excited to see him play. I am so excited.
Also, Jair Alexander. How is he going to play? Carrying the line.
Ja was my favorite player when I was at training camp a few years ago. And last year, it was starting to shift for me because I was wondering what was up. When he came back from the suspension, which, was just, I think it was just Jabi and Ja. He didn't think. Yeah. But he came back more mature. He is now a leader and an elder statesman on that defense. And he's also one of the best cornerbacks in the league. And he's also healthy now. If he can stay healthy, continue to lead, he may have – look at when did he come on? That Dallas game, that interception that he had? I mean, this man is – okay, I'll tell you this story. I was at training camp, and he was out there in practice, and I don't think he was necessarily happy with me for doing it, but I must admit that at one point – and I have a voice. I'm a little dude, but I have a voice. And I shouted out "Gold Jacket Ja" at the top of my voice to him. And he turned and looked, and I don't know if he's happy with me about it, but he is the kind of player that could end up in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Discord, stop. I muted the notifications too, and it's not working apparently.
That's what Discord is,
True. One thing to note, I don't know if you knew this, Josh Jacobs has 0 passing touchdowns ever.
Yep. Not until now.
You see that happening?
Oh, I see that happening. Oh, absolutely.
Also, what version of
you're gonna put him? You're gonna stack him I formation with AJ Dillon in front of him, and it's gonna be a play action. He's gonna bounce out into the flats, or he's gonna go through the line. It's gonna be a fake, and then fade out, and it's gonna be he is going to score. And he's talked about this, that he wants to catch the ball more. He can catch the ball regardless of what some people say about him. Right. Now he's gonna have to when his number is called, get the job done. Right. But with Matt LaFleur's system, and look at what Aaron Jones was able to do. If I'm Josh Jacobs, I am super stoked, about where my career is headed right now. I just got a great contract. I am now with a team that actually has a chance, which he was not. One playoff game, and he was really good in that playoff game. And I'm going to be able to catch the ball out of the backfield more. If he shows that week 1, he is going to be a nightmare for defensive coordinators to game plan against.
Right. And Carrington Valentine. Ja and Carrington Valentine together. Ooh.
Well, and Eric Stokes coming back healthy is a big deal.
Eric Stokes version are we going to have? No one knows.
I think we get the best version of it's sink or swim time for Eric Stokes. And everything Matt LaFleur is telling us is that he is not only physically as good as he's ever been because he's not rehabbing anymore. He's making his body better now for a while, which is important. But he's also mentally in a great place. And I think he and Jair Alexander, I mean, there's a reason Rasul Douglas was the guy they decided to trade. Partly because Eric Stokes didn't have the value, but partly because Jair Alexander is a different beast when he's healthy and when he's right. And I think he's right. And I don't think Eric Stokes can anything but benefit from that.
Also, like, Christian Watson is another one with hamstrings. We've heard from his dad they fixed the injury issue. Also,
an imbalance.
You might know about this, but Jair apparently was at practice with the rookies every single day this year. This is the first time. There was one day where a handful of the veterans, or 3 of the veterans, I think, were not there. But I don't remember if Ja was one of them. But it doesn't matter. He's putting his best foot forward. There's no question about that. He's taken up the mantle of leadership that, as one of the great cornerbacks in this league right now, he should be doing. And this is coming on like he could have gone off the deep end after what happened. And he's far from doing that. I think he's going to be dialed in. I cannot wait to see Jair Alexander. I would not want to be a number one. I don't want to be Justin Jefferson. I'd make great money. I'd be really good, but I wouldn't want to play Jair Alexander right now. Right. Also, Jalen Ramsey. It's going to be Jair versus Jalen Ramsey this year.
Yeah.
Against the Dolphins.
I mean, Ja all day long.
Yeah. Also, another thing that people have to realize, and I mentioned this on other podcasts, it's Devondre Campbell's also revenge game. And
the 49. Yeah, he's
Patrick
with the 49ers.
Also 49ers.
I don't put a whole lot into revenge games because they're only one player, but Devondre Campbell, some of the stuff he said, it's kind of like Jair Alexander. It was getting a little weird. And I think maybe the Joe Barry thing had more to do with interpersonal relationships necessarily. Because I've sat here and argued that there were times when it was not the Joe Barry defense that was the reason our defense was bad. There were a lot of times where we were fundamentally unsound. We were making we were playing bad football. But it's going to go back to the coach at some point. Are you motivating them? Do they respect you? And I think the answer to that at some point ended up being no. With Ja, with guys like Campbell, with potentially Rasul Douglas too. I mean, that may have been part of that. But, those veterans are the guys that they're not afraid. Like, listen, I've been in this league. I know what's good. I know what's not good. This is not good. Let's get it fixed, or I'm, checking out, or I don't know what, everybody's response is different, but.
Yeah, I just want to get in their heads and ask them, because you never know.
I know.
It could be different.
Put them on your podcast. Let's have Jair Alexander. You can be on my podcast any day you want.
I would never say no.
You wouldn't say no to Jair Alexander. You'd be like, Ja, I love you, man, but I don't have room for you on.
Or I would say yes to all of them. Okay. I would say yes to former players too. Just
it'd be a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, I would always say yes to Jair.
No, I think you'd turn him down flat. You'd be like, you know what? I don't have room.
No,
look at what I'm doing. Look at who I have. I just had Tom Grossi on me. I'd love to say I had time for you, Ja, but I'm sorry. I'm full. My slate is full.
I would take his sister too on the podcast. Just saying. I saw his sister on.
You're fishing now. You're like, oh.
We tried that with Kurt Benkert though. And
did you? You fished for Benkert? I fished for Benkert too. I sent him a message. He's completely ghosted me. I don't know why.
Yeah, he ghosted us too. What the heck, Kurt?
Yep. He's got great hair. The dude's got great hair, I must say. Almost as good as mine.
What are your thoughts about the defense coordinator and the new coaching staff, Jeff Hafley, and all his BC staff?
Yeah, it's a great question that honestly nobody knows the answer to just yet. I'll say what I love.
Okay.
I love that the best I can determine, it seems to me like he was ready to move on from the college ranks because he was changing diapers there and he wanted to meet with men, play with men and be involved in and be passionate about football. That to me, he just exudes that. Like he sweats football. Like, and I love that about him.
Mhm.
He does the work. He came in, he looked at the film. He told, Coach LaFleur who he thought was good, who he thought wasn't. He did that. That takes a lot of work. So I think he's a grinder. I always respect that. And I love that about him. I love that his plan is to be more aggressive, but that's where there's also the potential for some problems because it's a passing league. And if you're aggressive to the passer, you're giving up resources on the back end. But again, with the team we have, shouldn't we have been able to do this for the Pettine eras, for the Joe Barry eras? Yeah. And we have at times. We've shown that this defense is good enough at times. Right. But, Joe Barry really trying to play the odds and the probabilities. I understand that. And I understand how that has won us games. Mm-hmm. But there was a disconnect there. We weren't playing good fundamental football. Some communication things were not right. So I'm very excited about Jeff Hafley coming in. However, he has proven nothing in this league. Like he has proven nothing so far. So how he works, it seems like he's a player's coach like Matt LaFleur. And if there's going to be barriers, I think there's going to be some challenges, especially early before it's so limited in training camp, what you can get done, which by the way, training camp is on Monday. I just want to throw that out. We've got tomorrow's Friday. Training camp is on Monday. Chills. But yeah, so I'm going to be very interested to see in training camp how the offense develops and how the coordination is, how the teaching is. I talked about that on my show today because of the limiting factors in terms of the collective bargaining agreement, how many reps you have with these guys. You have to be very efficient and know how to teach and teach quickly. And sometimes I am concerned about whether coaches in the NFL actually know how to do that very well.
Right.
But super excited. I think it's going to be really exciting. And if we dial it in, okay, let's say it takes some time, but it's right. I think we're going to be just fine and win a lot of games.
Right. Could it also be a scheme change from a 4-3 or 3-4 to 4-2-5?
It is. I mean, I've kind of the conversation about the 4-3-3-4. It's become. It doesn't matter nearly as what you do as defensive coordinator is you evaluate the talent you have, you put them in the right places. We're going to see the only difference we're going to see is we're going to see guys like Rashawn Gary and Lucas Van Ness, for example, maybe Preston Smith. They may be putting their hand in the dirt a little bit more often. Right. But if they don't like that, if that doesn't suit them, the defensive coordinator needs to understand that and get them in the right spot. So to me, it has way, way, way less to do with, because it's a sub-packaged league. You're going to run a 4-3. You're going to have 4 down linemen, like 15% of the snaps of the 2024 season or something like that. It's going to be ridiculous. What's way more important than that is, can Jeff Hafley put the guys he's got in the right positions at the right time, and can he make the right calls, and can he motivate them by the fact that, guys, you are good enough to be a Super Bowl defense, an historic defense. If he does that, I think we see ourselves as a Super Bowl worthy and historic defense and a really, really good top 10 defense. But again, there's no way for me to say if that's exactly what we're going to roll out September 6th, which is my game that I picked to be, Yeah. But yeah, I'm very excited. I'm excited for him because it's his first shot at it and he's doing the work, and I think he deserves it. And I think that the defense believes in him, and I think that could go a long way.
Anthony Campanelli, any thoughts? He's from the Chargers, I think.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
I don't know. Again, it's the big thing with everybody that was brought on. And I mean, you got some good linebacker talent there, Quay Walker, who hasn't necessarily panned out just yet. But I think for me, like if I'm looking at the defensive staff that was brought on, that's not just Jeff Hafley. Again, it goes right back to Jeff Hafley. What kind of dynamic does he create? and how are the lines of communication and what is the teaching level at. If his teaching level is elite, which I think it needs to be with how limited it is,
right.
I think all those guys are successful, because the one thing no coach on the Packers defensive staff can say is that they don't have the guys to do it. Like, that's the one thing you can't say right now.
Right.
If you're a good coach, you're going to get some really good things done because we've got some really good dudes. But again, it's hard to see that dynamic. It's really interesting to me to think about how hard it would be to teach all the stuff that they've got to teach these guys.
Yeah.
And that, to swing back to your question about the free agent market, bringing in Xavier McKinney, a guy like that who can teach,
right.
The players on the field who teach are going to be incredibly important too.
Right. Also, I was looking at something else, but I lost it. Isaiah McDuffie, his last year at BC was with Halfley.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Now, and the thing to
that
me,
might help too.
Yes, and because I think he's gonna obviously then he'll understand the defense. Halfley is going to need to nuance the defense for the new team that he has and for the NFL.
Right.
But the communication and the friendship and the trust and the love, frankly, that these guys have. I mean, that's what you have in the locker room. You're like, I'm going to war with you side by side. That's great. Plus the fact that I saw McDuffie. I mean, he was far from perfect, but I saw him make some plays that I'm like, I really like this cat. I like how he hits. And frankly, what, Joe Barry during the Atlanta Falcons game week 2 last season, what did anybody make a decent hit in that entire game?
No.
I don't know. So that could make a difference. Now, again, we've drafted players. He's got a kind of an uphill battle. And honestly, I worked with Jeff Halfley before. That does not keep you a job in the NFL. What keeps you a job is going out and playing well. But yeah, I'm excited for him. I'm excited for that whole relationship. And I hope it works out. Because listen, I mean, aren't we going to need all these guys? We're going to need depth at some point at all these positions.
Injuries happen every day.
That's for sure.
We forgot one player for free agency. Keyshawn Nixon. And the new special teams rule, kickoff return rule. What?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Keyshawn Nixon was great to get back. And the new kickoff, trying to think of exactly what I said. I said on my broadcast, I mean, if anybody can make this an advantage, I think that's the guy that can do it. I was there. I want to say it was the Minnesota Vikings game when he ran back that touchdown. I was in the stands watching him, and I was one quarter. I mean, I was quarter field from the end zone that he ran into. And it's like, you don't see that very much anymore.
Right.
So I need to reiterate, because to be truthful, when they came out with the rule, my opinion of it was, what are you doing? Are you changing it again?
Yeah.
Can we just have kickoffs be kickoffs like they used to be when Randall Cobb was running them back? Now, the more I get into it, the more I see the formations and the way they work and think about Keyshawn Nixon, the more excited I am. I think he becomes a bit of a difference maker. And I think it's not just in hidden yards. And what, for a guy that he's making a name for himself, and really excited about that. The other one, who would we bring on? Greg, what's his name? The kicker that we brought in for competition for Anders Carlson. Yeah. I don't think enough is said about that as a signing, because that is, I think, what's going to kick Anders Carlson in the butt. And I think he's going to be good enough to make that. There's going to be maybe one, maybe two kicks that we need to win games that matter, either a playoff game when it's one and done, or a game that determines seeding, a game that has influence on the NFC North Championship. And I think he makes it this time, because remember, back in the day, everybody was jumping off the Mason Crosby ship because he was down at 80% or lower than 80%. And look what that guy did for the Green Bay Packers, because he has a big enough leg to kick through the swirling winds at Lambeau Field in December. And I think that's what Anders Carlson does. It needs to get a lot better, but you got to have competition to do that. And I think that's how he eventually gets there.
You don't think the new James Turner kicker makes it on the roster? The one from Michigan? No.
Anders is the in my opinion anyway, and I mean, somebody who knows more about kickers could disagree with me, but he is the most talented kicker we've got, period.
Also, how in the heck did the long snapper, Peter Bowden from Wisconsin, how in the heck did he not get drafted? Well,
he's a long snapper, number one.
True, but
so yeah, I mean, generally teams are waiting to pick them off, but yeah,
right.
I've said all along, and I'll say this on your podcast, and again, I think the snapping was a big part of why Anders Carlson did not have success.
Right.
I saw Waylon have to grab snaps and try to get them to the spot from places that made it very difficult. So I'm really glad we've got him on our team, because he is a really good punter and he is a really good holder too. Mm-hmm. And if we get this guy snapping the ball properly and quickly, I think we're going to see a lot of the problems that Anders Carlson had disappear just like that. Because the muscle memory,
It's the long snapper, you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, the long snapper, you saw snaps that he's having to grab over. Now you've got to turn it, you've got to spin it, and you've got to have it angled in the proper direction. Yeah. You got to have laces out, Ace Ventura. Right. And it throws off everything that is so fine-tuned in the muscle memory of your kicker. So I think if we fix that, obviously Anders Carlson has to continue to do work and make sure he's consistent. You know, there's things I'm sure he has to work on. But I think it's been way overlooked that if we get the snapper right, look at the years that we had Mason Crosby years, and I forget what his name is now, but we had a long snapper that we kept bringing back just because we couldn't find anybody that consistent. So I think if we get that fixed and we get that right, I think the kicking game, I think the questions about the kicking game may go away faster than we would have thought.
It's Peter Bowden from Wisconsin, for those wondering. He is 23.
And he's from Wisconsin, so I want him to, I want him to be the best ever. Yeah.
He's 23. He's 23 years old.
Yeah. Well, and long snapper, I mean, as long as you're good, you can play, if you don't blow out your ACL or something, you're going to be fine for a long time. Yeah.
And also this Peter Bowden kid, if I was right, was the best last year too. So. I mean,
he's from Wisconsin.
And he knows how to hold the ball in the cold too, which should help the most.
Yeah. I mean, I think he wins the job. I think a lot of the problems go away. The main thing you're going to look at is if we stop missing PATs, we've gotten it right. We're not going to guarantee that a 50+ yarder in wins is going to go through, but Anders Carlson has the strongest leg by far to give us the best chance of that. So if you get the PATs and that is consistent, then then that means to me that Anders Carlson is consistent. His muscle memory is consistent and the snap is good. And frankly, I already believe that Waylon the hold is already good. I don't think there's any problem with that. I could be wrong from somebody that really knows what they're looking for. But I think a lot of the problems go away, the PATs first. And then when we have that shot where it's a 45-yarder, but this one's for the win, I think that we've got a way better chance of that thing going through.
Yeah, that's a great point. I was just looking at the roster. We don't have another punter on the roster right now. So. No,
I mean, you wouldn't want one. Yeah, the only reason you'd bring one on is if you had a problem, and we just don't have that because Waylon, he's been drilling these things. Mm-hmm. And from what we're hearing so far, it's not just hang time, it's accuracy, it's distance with hang time, because those two things work together. If you got the hang time, you typically don't have the distance. Got the distance, you typically don't have the hang. He's doing both right now. Plus, he's a damn good snapper or a good holder.
Yeah.
I could not be happier to have this guy on my team. And I really think he needs to get a lot of credit.
One player I'm excited that we brought back is Eric Wilson, the linebacker. He's the one that saved that off punt from the 49ers game.
Yep. And there's guys that just have a nose for being in the right place at the right time. He may be one of those. I mean, who knows who all makes it through training camp at this point. We don't know what the team makeup is going to be, but yeah, I mean, these are guys that it's kind of like the safety position. A lot of times in the safety position, you have to have a nose for the ball. And when you do, something gets tipped that no one could ever predict, but you're in the right place at the right time somehow. There's some kind of intuition that goes on. So,
okay, so I realized I didn't have this question, so I'm going to add it right now. What are your thoughts about this year's draft class? I thought that was a question, but apparently it wasn't.
Boy, I mean, I could do a whole show on this. I'm gonna. Yeah, no, I won't do that because of it. I wouldn't do that to you, Mary. Brian Gutekunst last season, back-to-back seasons now with these double-digit draft classes has proven that on the back of Jordan Love, the Green Bay Packers are in a youth movement phase. And yet he did it. You know, he's got 7th rounders starting for him because A, he's confident in the scouting department, and B, he knows how to evaluate himself to take out any of the potential mistakes that scouts make. Now, again, we traded back to get an off-ball linebacker in the second, which is fantastic to me because I agree with the Green Bay Packers that generally speaking, in this league as it stands today, an off-ball linebacker in the first round is rarely going to return the kind of dividends that you need for a first rounder to get where you're going to need to be. You have to pick premium positions. Off-ball linebacker is not a premium position. I don't care what anybody says, including the off-ball linebackers that are now hating me. Will never. I've been canceled by. It's a nuance. I'm not saying it by by a huge amount, but the way that Brian Gutekunst has been able to pull in the volume of the draft. So Ted Thompson used to do this. It's kind of like he just wanted to take a lot of swings at the plate. You give your probability, you get your probability up there. And then the way that Brian, within that, and different seemingly, not entirely than Ted Thompson, but a lot more frequently, is willing to move around the draft board to either make sure he gets guys he believes in, or to make sure he gets more picks because he knows he's got maybe a handful of guys he believes in. One of them's going to still be there, no problem, and build a team. And this year in particular, again, it all remains to be seen, but you know, we had some question marks on the defense. He filled them pretty much. I mean, he pretty much tagged every single like shallow position that we had. Because, you know, Quay Walker's a little bit of a question mark right now. And continues to build an offensive line that can protect Jordan Love for the future. You know, starting way back. I mean, he already had, you know, Bakhtiari, but, you know, drafting Elton Jenkins in the second round. And this guy is, if he wasn't playing the guard position, he's a top 10 player. And he is so good. So yeah, I think this draft class, you know, it remains to be seen, but we've got plenty of bodies and he keeps guys in the hopper, you know, 2-3 safeties. You know, what did we need? 2-3 safeties, but we also brought in Xavier McKinney. So we're not screwed. And I just think to some extent it needs to be said, and obviously there's no guarantees with this draft class, but I think to some extent, partly because he's standing on the shoulders of giants like Ron Wolf and Ted Thompson. But I think Brian Gutekunst might have a little different calculus than everybody else right there. He may be operating on a little bit different level. And I couldn't be more excited about the guys he's brought into this team. The least expensive offense in the league. Are you telling me that offense that I saw last season, the last half of last season, go out there and should have beaten the 49ers and would have probably had a better game against the Chiefs than the 49ers did, is the cheapest offense in the NFL? Also, the youngest team is another thing. Absolutely. Young. And that's part of it. Is if you're young, it's because you're drafting and developing. If you're drafting and developing, you're managing your salary cap. If you're managing your salary cap, you can bring in Xavier McKinney. You can bring in Josh Jacobs, even though you're still, you know, you're just getting beyond the onus of the Aaron Rodgers era in terms of money. It's fantastic what Brian Gutekunst has done. So I was looking back at Edgerrin Cooper footage today, and I saw like a young Clay Matthews and a young AJ Hawk into them. Yeah, I mean, he's not bending the edge, you know, but true. I completely agree with you in terms of the athleticism. We are going to have athletic freaks all over the place out there, and you are absolutely right about that. And, you know, you play against a running quarterback. I mean, Justin Fields, like, look what we were able to do with him without Cooper. And Cooper was far and away the best spy linebacker in this draft, and and I think the best linebacker in this draft. I was not very keen on drafting him in the first round personally, but when we got him trading back in the second, I think I turned 3 cartwheels. I don't know, it was at least 2. And I could not be happier to have him on our team. So yeah. So again, when you need to commit those resources because that's the matchup you've got that week, we now have not one but two, because Quay did it against Fields. We've got not one but two resources that are very highly skilled in that regard, and you're absolutely right. The athleticism is off the charts.
So how your reaction was to Cooper is how Tom's reaction was to Bullard. Like,
yeah,
something, and it was reliable.
Yeah, and to get him where we got him, and to have, I mean, this guy, I mean, I'm expecting him to be the starter. That's not a guarantee right now. He's going to have to, but even if he isn't this year, the excitement level about Bullard to me after Savage is gone, I think he's going to be that, because I mean, we spent high draft capital on Savage.
Right.
And this guy comes in, learns from Xavier McKinney, and has every opportunity to be great. And I honestly think he's going to be great. And a lot of that is going to be at first, it's going to be to some extent Xavier McKinney, covering some sins that he's, I'm sure, going to commit as a rookie out there. I mean, I can't imagine being a safety in a new system at the NFL level after being at the college level, playing the number of games and not making a mistake or two. He's going to make those.
Yeah.
But I think the future is so bright for him and his athleticism and the team that he got drafted to me, against all odds. Like, I did not expect that. Makes me very excited for him, and being excited for him then makes me, again, really excited for this team in 2024 and potentially beyond for a long time.
Also, Keaton Oladapo, how in the heck did he fall to like 5th round?
Yeah, I haven't thought about Oladapo for a long time, but yeah, I mean, that's one of the guys. And what was it, King, that we got in the 7th? What did it end up being?
Kalen King.
Again, I'm going back to Brian Gutekunst and the fact that, I mean, how does Aaron Rodgers get to 24? How does how does these things happen? Well, they happen because 20 or whatever, or 50 or 100 teams make mistakes in between.
True.
And something about the Packers organization and the way that they do things is saying, no, this guy, I am very happy to find this guy at this particular position. And they're a value adding team. Like, they're able to get guys in rounds that don't seem right to a lot of us. That's not a guarantee. I mean, because they also miss. I mean, you pick up guys in the 2nd round like AJ Dillon that don't really, right now doesn't look like was worth the pick.
Yeah.
So certainly not perfect, but I think, over the course of Brian's career so far, he has built a very Super Bowl worthy team, and I got to get him all the credit in the world.
Right. It sounds like you weren't excited for Josiah Deguara either then.
Yeah, Josiah Deguara. I was actually excited when they drafted him. Because, well, I mean, we're coming into a Matt LaFleur system. He looks like the perfect fit, but it just didn't, it was not really a correct pick, Yeah. So nobody's saying Brian Gutekunst is perfect, but man, he's doing math, and he's like I don't know if you're a Dune fan, but he's a Mentat to me. He's doing the math. He's making the decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And look, so, how much did Ron Wolf take flack when he traded a 1st rounder for a guy named Brett Favre, who couldn't even make it on the Atlanta Falcons? Right. How much did Ted Thompson take flack for trading Brett Favre to the Jets? Mm-hmm. And then he goes and uses that pick to get Clay Matthews, and we get a Super Bowl. So it's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating how Green Bay does it. And I think it starts with Ron Wolf, I think, kind of codified. I think he's the guy that put the system together in my mind, wrote a book about it, literally. And, but Goody's a little different. He's rolling with the differences in the league. He's paying attention. He's unafraid. He promised us he'd leave no stone unturned, and he's done that. I can't give him credit.
Yeah. Also, Goody did, well, I won't mention that because that might be it. No, not going to get married.
You're getting off topic now. Don't get off topic.
I was about to, but I was like, well, it was something to do about Goody, but I really don't want to bring it up right now. Right. So that's not happening. We were talking about Mark Murphy in the pre-show. Ed policy. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts? Do you think he's going to be the next great president or owner?
Well, I mean, I hate him because Mark called me and he didn't interview me for the job. So I mean, my big chance was just blown there. So I hate the guy. No, that's completely untrue. That's totally tongue in cheek. I mean, what Stanford Law, the Arena Football League, he was the commissioner. In terms of understanding the structure of this organization, zero problems whatsoever. In terms of having the understanding that he needs, I mean, Stanford Law, for crying out loud, he knows everything he needs to know to do this job. He's in the right place. To me, if I was going to give a name, his name would have been the only name I would have known for that job. The one thing to me, you know, Mark Murphy had played the game in the NFL.
Right.
And I'm pretty confident he has not. I don't think that matters a bit, to be honest. That's not what he's in here to do. I don't expect, you know, Murphy made some organizational changes, and I you know, he can make those change. He can change it back. He can do all kinds of things like that. Right. I don't expect him to do that. Honestly, I think that's part of if I'm on the board, that's part of the calculus. Is if I like the way things are, I want to vote in a guy who is potentially not going to jump in just to change a whole lot. I'm perfectly fine with it. I think it's going to be fantastic. The other thing I'd say is I don't think Mark Murphy is going to just disappear either. I think he's going to be there for him. I don't know what the situation is. Honestly, maybe Murphy flies down to Florida, buys a house on the ocean, and just goes fishing for the rest of his life. But I would suspect that this guy's going to have all the mentorship that he needs. Whether I couldn't comment on whether he has been kind of groomed up for this position. Somebody else probably would know better than me about that. But I think he's going to be fantastic. I'm looking forward to going to meetings and hearing him talk. Although let me just caveat that, because Mark Murphy does not get enough credit for him. He's kind of comes off as not like a real personable guy, which, you know, it seems to me like he might be an introvert. That's fine. But he's funny, man. He got up at the shareholders meeting and he is funny. He's good. So that's the one thing, policy. You got to be good at the shareholder meeting. You got to maintain it.
So I just Googled it because I was curious. Ed Policy joined the Packers in 2012.
Yeah. So he's been around plenty to understand how we do things. And if he has new ideas, he's thought them through in the context of what we've done has already worked and has continued to work for a long time. So
also,
I think so.
Is the one that designed Titletown too.
What was that?
Titletown was designed by Ed Policy, I believe.
Good point. I did not think of that. Good point.
He's the genius.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like the logo a whole lot, but yeah. I mean, that's the reason. I mean, we don't have the draft next year if we don't have Titletown. You know, the work that
without Titletown, we wouldn't have the draft, like you said. Policy is the reason why we have Titletown.
And that, you know, there you go. So I mean, what do you put on your resume? I mean, who's going to put anything better than that on their resume? You know, to be the successor for Mark Murphy. So, you know, just do it, do the job, be a grinder, do the work. Everything I think will be fine.
Do you think Ed Policy is going to bring his brother's luck with the 49ers? Did you hear about that?
Mm-mm.
So when Ed Policy's brother was the president, I guess, of the 49ers back in the day, and he brought 5 back-to-back Super Bowl wins.
Well, I hope he brings the Super Bowl wins. Yeah.
That's what we're all saying. Yeah.
Okay. So that's 2024, 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028. It will almost be 2030 before the Packers have to not get a Super Bowl. I am totally fine with that. I think the universe needs that kind of joy right now. Yes. Do it.
Where can't I find it? Also, Ed Policy is 53, I think, from what I saw last.
Okay, so he has to retire at 75. That gives him 22 years. That's yeah. Well, again, it's a youth movement. Like, I think this might be from top to bottom. You know, Mark Murphy may have said, hey, listen, we're in this situation. I've been able to get us here. I mean, Brian Gutekunst is, you know, not old. Matt LaFleur is not old. Our team is not old. And now our president, you know, I don't think that's the be all end all. But again, if you, with the way that the Packers do it, you have to retire at 75. That gives you the time, you know, the Roman Empire, when the emperorship was longer, you have greater success. And I think that might be part of our success, is the fact that we've had quarterbacks back to back, you know, 15 plus years or whatever. And we're looking to potentially have another one. And maybe from the top down, we can have that kind of leadership. I think it's a plus.
I got asked to ask you this, so I will. Stephon Gilmore, yes or no to bring him to the Packers for a season? No. Are you saying that because of like his contract and age or injuries?
Well, I'm saying it mainly because of the money, and his age and the situation. I don't think we need him. I don't think we need him. I think Eric Stokes is going to be fantastic this year. And if Eric Stokes is really good, and Jair Alexander is who I think he is right now, I don't see the benefit. I don't know. I just don't think the benefit is going to be enough for the cost on that one. And unless, you could get a deal or whatever. I don't know. Are there rumors or something like that? I haven't seen anything.
It was just questions.
Just questions.
Like told me to ask you.
Yeah,
I got sent it, so I'm like, I said no to.
Well, again, so I talk about a youth movement. That's not 100%. We still got Preston Smith. Even Kenny Clark now is an elder statesman on this team, but you brought in Xavier McKinney.
Also, Josh Jacobs is up there too.
Yeah, but younger than who he replaced. But yeah, exactly. Right. So it's not 100%. And a guy like Gilmore, if he can help the team, I'll say this, if Brian Gutekunst looked at him and said, he's the difference between us winning the Super Bowl and not, and he signs him, I'm not going to have any problem with that. But I don't think for the dynamic of this team that he's the guy.
Stephon Gilmore would be the oldest player too on the team. Besides Preston Smith, he's older than Preston Smith. Yeah.
I don't see. That's why, part of me saying no is I'm looking through as best I can Brian Gutekunst's eyes. I just don't see that happening. I don't see that money going out.
Yeah.
And I don't think we need him.
Also, another reason why I'm saying no is he could have went to the Packers when we got Russell Douglas. It was between us and the Rams, if people remember, and he chose the Rams. He could have been on the Packers.
He's, I don't know.
But then if we didn't get Stephon Gilmore, we wouldn't get Russell Douglas. So it's like a toss-up of that too.
Right, and that's what the Packers do. They get the guys that other teams are kind of offloading. They're a little bit less expensive. So that when the guys like Xavier McKinney and Josh Jacobs are available, they have the money to key them in. They understand that. How many Super Bowls did Khalil Mack win the Chicago Bears?
0.
And how much money did they pay him? And how mad were Packers fans that we didn't get him, even though our draft capital was nowhere near what the Bears were? We could not win a battle with them. It just, the Packers understand that you can miss as easily as you can hit on those. And they're careful. They're methodical, in my opinion. And they do spend the money, but they spend it less than other teams, which is why we get mad at them so much. But, these two players that you get that are right are so much better than the one that you pay hundreds of millions of dollars to that gets you one double doink, playoff game. Right. And so I would, again, if Goody thought that was great and he went for it, I would get behind it and look at some film, but I haven't looked at any film of how he's playing lately. I don't know what his grades are lately. But again, you get up there, it doesn't matter. Time always wins. So
also Stephon is injury prone because if I'm right, he didn't play against the Cowboys versus us.
And how averse to injury prone players are the Green Bay Packers, including, some of the guys that we've offloaded that we really, really loved. So
I was going to say Devondre Campbell might be one of those because we took him from the Cardinals. It's just like magic, I guess.
Yeah, and that's another thing we do is we get these guys at the right time and we help them turn their careers around, and it's good for them. So we're doing some things. Obviously we're not perfect, but we're doing some things right. We're doing some things righter than a lot of other teams in this league.
That gets people there. It's like. It was just Xavier McKinney. He stopped the Vikings from getting closer into the playoffs. He's the one that intercepted that ball. Or stopped the Vikings from going a step further.
Right, and that's what we've been missing. Even Adrian Amos, he had some fantastic. He was unbelievable. And was that a fourth down fumble that he caused? There's a game or two in which he had a play or two, but the Packers are good at finding guys that are playmakers. And that's when, and to me, that's when even the injury situation, the injury history, if they have medicals, they have clear medicals. Charles Woodson was injured too. Nobody wanted him.
Right.
And
Oh yeah.
he is as good as it has ever been at that position. So, and he did it with the
Right.
Packers.
That's crazy. Why was Donald Driver cut from the Texans then? That does not make sense to me.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah.
That like baffles me. Like he's a
Donald Driver, he's a Packer. He just needs to enjoy his life. Enjoy his life, enjoy his family, enjoy his money, and enjoy being a Hall of Famer in the Green Bay Packers.
Okay. I was going to say, do you think Donald Driver deserves a spot in the NFL Hall of Fame?
I mean, I'd have to look at. I mean, obviously, I'm a Packer fan, so the answer is yes, because we are just about. We are second to the Bears. I think still we are just about to beat the Bears, and at which point we will beat everybody in pretty much every category in the entire NFL, especially if we pull in another Super Bowl trophy this year. So the answer is yes. I'm not saying that based on anything other than fandom, because I love Donald Driver.
Right. Sterling Sharp.
Freaking awesome.
Sterling Sharp.
Sterling Sharp, he certainly would if he had not gotten hurt. Yeah.
You don't think he will ever be in it?
Oh, I think he may. I mean, we've seen, Butler got in, so it's nowhere near as politicized as like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but there's some stuff that has to happen. And best I can tell, guys like, who is it that, it's one of the beat writers for ESPN that can give you some good information on kind of how the Hall of Fame works, but I couldn't do that in terms of, wide receiver position, but he was very insightful about the Leroy Butler situation. And he said, I don't think he's going to get in this year, but I think he's going to get in next year. And that's exactly what happened.
Interesting. I'll have to look for their therapist, apparently.
Rob Domofsky is who I'm thinking of. Had that conversation. I want to give him credit for that because that was very insightful and he was exactly right.
I will have to look at something. Okay, I was forced to ask this, but you can skip it if you want. What are your thoughts about the Bears? Okay, fine.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
It was about the Bears offseason. It's all
that's a fair question, right? I mean, they have the number. They had the number 1 overall and the number 9 pick. They had 2 picks in the top 10. This is a boon for a Bears team that has been such crap for so long. And Caleb Williams, I watched a significant amount, may not be proper, but I watched enough film on him to believe that kid can play. That kid can play. There's a reason he's the number 1 overall pick. The Bears did not have to trade a bunch of picks away, trade the farm away to get him. They kept the number 9. They got him. They got a wide receiver for him then at 9. They did some, they brought in Keenan Allen, Keenan Allen is a really, really good wide receiver. He's getting up there now.
Right.
Their offseason, to me, made me absolutely certain that I could put money down on Caleb Williams being the pick at number 1. I couldn't have said 9 because, who knows at that point. But they were very much preparing to have their new quarterback that they believe in. And I think they did, honestly, a really good job. Moore is still there, right? So they've got a wide receiver group that is incredibly dangerous. We are going to kill him this year. I think we're going to kill him this year. But I don't think that in no way, and I'm going to have people around me saying that means he's no good. And I've had people argue with me that, the competition wasn't good enough, so therefore he's not a good quarterback. I watch him throw the ball. I think he can play.
Okay.
I may be completely wrong. That doesn't mean that the Bears can develop him. They're going to have to throw him into the fire as a starter week 1, season 1 as a rookie, and that can destroy a career. They've done it for 2 quarterbacks now, and they could do it again. Right. But I think he's for real, and I think he's got weapons around him. Devondre Campbell they brought in, which I don't honestly think. Oh no, Swift is who I'm thinking of, right? Yeah, Swift. Devondre Campbell. That doesn't even make sense. But Swift. So I think that they have put together, and I hate to say it, but I think the Lions learned this to put together a team around the quarterback. The thing that the Bears have failed to do up to this point, and they've worked on it, but they brought in Wright last year in the first round. But if they don't get him protected, it isn't going to matter whether I think this kid can throw or not. He's not going to throw from his butt. So I think their offseason was as solid as it could get. But let's ask ourselves this, like, how can your offseason be bad when you have $1 billion for the last 2 years? You have the number 1 and the number 9 overall pick. Now, they have had nothing else. Like, how many picks did they pick all told? Like 5, maybe? I don't even know what it was. But that, to me, is the failing of the past, because they traded all those picks away and they gave up the farm for guys that they couldn't develop. Because, frankly, I think Fields may be a pretty good quarterback if he's trained by the right coaching staff.
Right.
And has the protection that he needs so that he's not dropping his eyes and trying to run all the time, which he's also really good at. If Justin Fields found a coach that could make him really good at throwing the ball, he could be a really good quarterback. But their offseason, I'm not scared of them this year. And I think we don't have to be if we keep doing what we're doing for a long time. But I do think the bar is going to move up. I think the Bears-Packers rivalry is going to change to the point where we go in without quite as much swagger as we have for a bunch of years here.
I have a Bears fan texting me right now. That's all you
I don't think it happens this year. I think we wipe them out this year.
Okay.
How is he going to process what Jeff Hafley is able to bring with Kenny Clark, with LVN, with Rashawn Gary, and then on the back end we can cover singled up for the most part.
Right.
I don't think Swift answers that question. He's not going to dominate the way what's his name from Robinson or whatever, Bijan Robinson did in the Atlanta Falcons game. He's not able to do that.
Right. And it's also like you made a great point with the hands in the dark press, or Rashawn Gary and Lucas Van Ness did that both in college. So I looked it up because I was curious. Week 1 for the Bears is against your Titans at Chicago.
Is that week 1? Did you say?
Yep.
Oh man, I'd love to see the Titans win that one.
Just imagine.
Titans are the Titans are waning. Back when the Titans were good with Henry and the Packers were headed to the end, I wanted a Titans Super Bowl that year. I wanted a Titans Packers Super Bowl badly that year, and both of us failed in the championship.
What made you become a Packers fan? I know you said you were from Wisconsin before the hand, but now you live in Tennessee.
Yeah, so I moved to Tennessee in '98 because I got a scholarship to do my master's degree. But you can take the boy out of Wisconsin, but you cannot take Wisconsin out of the boy. I am Wisconsin through and through. I am Packer Nation, Bucks Nation, Brewer Nation, Badger Nation. When the Bucks won the championship, things in my house got broke out of joy. I grew up in West Central Wisconsin, and my dad was assistant coach of the high school football team. So my dad was a superstar in his own right. In pretty much, he was quarterback of the football team. He was shortstop on the baseball team. He was point guard on the basketball team. I don't know what he did. My dad did everything. So dad coached football. He coached girls basketball. He started all of my races in track, or all my sprints, my short sprints in track, and went to all my wrestling matches. And much of my youth, when the summers were on and the high school team was doing 2-a-days at the high school field, my brother and I were there because, we had to be with dad. I think mom was maybe working at the time. So we played around. So I've been on a football field since I was basically a court and a football field and a locker room since I was in a car seat pretty much. And dad was a Packer fan. So every Sunday, and a lot of times he would take a nap, he'd fall asleep, but I would be laying my head on dad's lap watching Packer football. And so I have been a Packer fan from the first moment I was conscious of it. I never went through the phase. A lot of guys go through the phase where they, my brother, he was a quarterback. So he loved other quarterbacks like Dan Marino and stuff like this because they're great, nothing wrong with that. But I was always a Packer fan. I did like the Eagles because I liked Eagles at one point. Okay. That's how childish it got for me. But that's it. I've been a Packer fan. And I will never change.
Well, of course not.
We're not stupid, right? Let's just be honest here.
Okay, so this was also from a Bears fan. They kind of did you tough, and I apologize for that. Who are your top 5 wide receivers ever?
Right. That's a great question and a tough question. You're saying top 5, so not all Packers, but these are
I know. Yeah, because if you said all Packers, they would probably be mad at you.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, Randy Moss has got to be no. I hate Randy Moss. I don't care. He's good. I know. He's not on the list. I don't care how good you are. It doesn't mean you make it to my list. You mooned us at Lambeau Field. You're off the list. You suck. Don Hudson, for sure. Okay. I got to give credit to, who was absolutely ahead of his time and was more of a modern our-day wide receiver than I think the NFL had seen at the time. Mm-hmm. I've got to give credit to James Lofton. And that was the guy when I was laying my head on Dad's lap and watching the Packers. A lot of it was James Lofton. James Lofton is the guy from the time, it had to be third grade, Miss Evenson's third grade class. I dreamed, I literally could see myself catching a pass in the Super Bowl for a touchdown. And it was because of James Lofton, who was fantastic, just absolutely amazing. And then I only get 3 more. So did you say 3 or 5? You said 5, right? You want. Okay. You can do whatever you want. But I mean, Jordy Nelson, are you kidding me? Jennings was fantastic. His attitude, I think, makes me kind of, because that I probably would say Randall Cobb instead to some extent. Okay. There's so many. And then the Brett Favre era, you got, how can Sterling Sharp not be on? He has to be on that list. That's 4. Right. And I'm left with, I guess, Devontae Adams, because Devontae Adams is a this guy needs to be in the Hall of Fame. And
you think he will be?
I mean, not with the Raiders. I don't know.
As a Packer?
I don't have his career stat. He'll be in a Packers Hall of Fame. Yep. But he deserves. Devontae Adams made Chad Ochocinco cry. I'm sorry. That is that's nuts. I watched the league, and Chad Ochocinco, as much as I didn't like him when he played, seems like a pretty cool dude. And I loved watching his footwork. Again, his personality, I think he's quieter. He seems to like Las Vegas in terms of he likes the showmanship. I think he also wanted to get out of the shadow of Aaron Rodgers, and I can understand that. But the guy was just really good. And I know there's a million that I'm missing right now, especially from the Brett Favre era, Brooks and, Andre Rison. I'm in a book talking about the throw that Brett Favre threw to Andre Rison, which is my favorite Brett Favre play ever. So yeah, that would probably be my list, and I'll probably kick myself over somebody that I might need to move up. But.
I'm going to do the last question really quick, and then I'll be right back. What would your message be if Tom Grossi watched this episode? Tom, if you're watching, please.
Tom Grossi. Oh, because I met Tom Grossi. Okay. So yeah.
I will be right back. Right. Take care of the audience. I trust you.
All right. So I'm going and you're leaving. Is that what you're doing? Oh, okay.
I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. So Tom Grossi, I met him at training camp a couple of years back. And I saw him at training camp and recognized him. And I thought, I'm going to say hi to Tom. And so I went up and I reached out my hand and introduced myself. And I could see in my mind, I could see his name. I could see the spelling, G to the R to the O to the double S to the I. And I reached out my hand and I said, "You're Tom Grossi, aren't you?" I completely blew his name. Tom, first word to you is, I apologize. I've been ghosted ever since, and I deserve it. I apologize. And it's Grossi Posse. So how do you, he rhymed it and he branded it rhymed. How do you get it wrong? I don't know. I got it wrong. Maybe my brain was clogged with too many malted hops and bong resin at the time. I don't know, Tommy boy, but it was bad. But first thing would be to say, I apologize. I literally, and this is true, serious, I hate getting people's names wrong. And it's very difficult. Tom, you've probably been through that doing what we do. The second thing would be, I want to get these in the right order. The second thing would be keep doing what you're doing. I followed along a little bit. I've been kind of subscribed and kind of unsubscribed, I think, at some point. I've got some weirdness going on, but what you do for St. Jude's Children's Hospital and the, 30 and 30, I think it was called, charities to give back. I know what it takes. It took me like 10 years, nights and weekends to make a penny on what I do. And so I know what it takes. And a lot of times it's easy to feel like there's no reward, but for you to go and take, when you've been rewarded for what you do,
Mm-hmm.
and do something for others with it and spend your time. I mean, that is a lot of travel. I don't know that I want to do that much travel. I think I told you, Mary, I did a 22-hour flight once and with a couple layovers in it, and it was brutal. So keep doing what you're doing. That's not the only charity you do. I don't have the list in front of me, but giving back is a signal to me of somebody who I've always thought, and I have my own plan. I do charity events myself. I have one. I've never done one of my own yet, but I do participate in them from time to time.
Okay.
And one of the things that really impresses me is when somebody that gets a chance to get paid to talk about the Packers looks in the mirror and says, there's more to life than getting paid to talk about the Packers. Because I mean, that's a pretty good gig in a lot of ways. Yeah. It's not perfect, but it's a pretty good gig. He is obviously that. And Tom, you're obviously that if you're listening. And I really appreciate you, respect what you do. I don't have all the full, I don't understand. I really seriously don't even have a basic concept of what that 30 and 30 must have been like on your body, your mind, and what you went through to do it. So I definitely would want to say, keep doing what you're doing, bro. And I'd love to meet you sometime. We already did once. You'll see the story on the recording because you skipped out on me when I gave my story. The third thing, this is the last thing I want to say is, of course, congratulations for being NFL Fan of the Year. I mean, you can't pass that one up. Well done. And I think well-deserved. When someone, and Mary, you can comment that when someone from Packer Nation gets something like that, an award like that, and gets recognized, I think we all feel pride in you and we all feel pride in our team. And I think the Green Bay Packers have the best group of podcasters out there. They are the most welcoming to me. They are the most, I think, informed. They are the most football savvy. They're the funniest too. I'm putting myself in that one because I am super funny. No. But anyway, congratulations on all that. But most of all, keep doing what you're doing for others, because that to me is the signal of somebody who's really dialed in on the right path. So there you go.
I will say he did tell us some behind the scenes of stuff when he was on our show. He said,
I know, I saw it because I watched your show.
Behind the scenes.
Off camera stuff. All right. Well,
yeah.
You mean when he was mooning the guys off the balcony at the Marriott?
He got injured. He injured his back badly.
Oh no.
His elbow. It was bad.
Oh, back injuries are not.
Jumped off a table.
Was he at a Buffalo game? It had to be the Buffalo game. No?
Was the Buffalo beat up.
Oh, man.
He thought it was on grass. Turned out it was gravel.
Oh, that hurts. Yeah, I've crashed on my bike on gravel multiple times. That stuff embeds. You need it surgically removed at some point. It's bad.
He used soap and water to get it all out. Yeah. It was bad.
Wow, that'll put hair on your chest. Ouch. That does not sound fun at all.
Yeah, and he was hurting. He said he could barely and he missed his fight.
Oh no. Oh man. Day. See, that's what I'm talking about. There had to be headaches that everybody thinks it's so glamorous. We get to put it on the camera, we get paid for it, blah. We get to talk about football, we get to talk about our team. It's great. It's mostly normal crap that people have to go through. It's sometimes it's just
I think it was Buffalo to Patriots or something crazy that. He had to drive the whole way. I'm like,
oh man. Yeah, I can see that being the distance that you end up driving rather than flying. But if you drive it
too, and
with your back hurting, that would stink.
And then he said he almost had to cancel the Philadelphia one because that was the time of the smoke. Too. He said they canceled
from Canada.
He said they canceled baseball games because it was so bad. Poor Philadelphia.
Yeah, that was bad.
I had one more on the list. I don't know if you want to get to it.
Yeah, do it to it. We're almost to an hour and a half here, lady.
I know. Hey, this is not.
We're laying down some tracks right now.
I will tell you, what this would not be the longest either. Amar broke 2 hours and a half.
Well, Grossi did a 15. Let's break that.
No, Grossi did 39.
39. All right, we're on. Okay,
so you definitely beat Grossi.
We'll all right, guys, stay with us. We're going to be here when training camp rolls out on Monday.
I literally have another podcast tomorrow, so that's probably not happening. I'm busy.
All right.
I literally just added like 3 more podcasts on top of this one, so I'm like, ugh.
Blowing me off just like you did Jair Alexander when he tried
to get
no.
Okay, no more. Okay, this last question.
No, I want one more. Oh, this is the last question.
Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
What are the top 3 games that are not named Super Bowl for Packers history?
Okay, the top 3 games for me, this is for me personally. Okay. Yep. The top 3 games in no particular order that are not named Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. One is named the Ice Bowl, which is the best game in NFL history. Okay. I have a guy, Professor Hasselbeck, over the hill here, who was at that game and tells the story about it. That to me is, and that was back, before the Super Bowl, obviously, back when the NFC the championship game was the championship game. Mm-hmm. And that game to me was a building block of us enjoying football today. I don't know that without games like that, I don't think we are enjoying football the way we do today. The second game that was not named the Super Bowl is the AFC NFC World Championship game, the Packers against the Chiefs, where the Packers won 35-10, if I remember right, which later was named the Super Bowl one. And was one of the greatest games. I mean, and that was the one, Vince Lombardi under all that pressure because the NFL is supposed to be, the thing. And we went out there and we whooped up on them. And I've been calling since Super Bowl 50 for a rematch of that game. And of course, your first question, I did not say rematch of that game because now I really kind of don't like it. I love Andy Reid, but I just don't want to see those guys again. I want no Taylor Swift involved in that. I'm sick and freaking tired of it. Just go away. I want something to go wrong if it has to. I don't want them, but that was a fantastic game. And if I'm right, Max McGee was considered a backup for that game.
Wow.
And I don't know, was that 1 or 2? But I think that was 1. Where he makes the one-handed catch for the touchdown. But he went out drinking the night before because he was not expecting to play, is the story. Now, I can't verify it. I'm doing it from memory, so I can't verify it. But he was not expecting to play, gets his number called, and goes in and just freaking, does his thing, and the Packers win the Super Bowl, win the AFC NFC championship game. And I keep reiterating that because most of NFL fans do not understand that we have 13 championships, and they're all championships equally as good as any Super Bowl that has ever been.
True.
So that's number 2 for me. And I do go back to that game I haven't watched it for a long time now, but I do go back to that game. I guess it's kind of nostalgic for me. Bart Starr. Anytime I'm watching Bart Starr, I'm just feeling really good about football. So, and the third one, I'm going to go completely off the beaten path. And I didn't look it back up, so I don't have all the details, but you might remember Davante Adams' welcome to week 14 game against the Seattle Seahawks at Lambeau Field. After we had had so much heartache from the Seattle Seahawks. And the welcome to week 14 game, I was at that game and got to watch it. I think we had like 2 or 3 interceptions and a couple fumble recoveries. And my buddy Garth, who was his wife has season tickets, was getting me my tickets at the time. He and I just couldn't believe that we were watching this game unfold because they always had our number. And that was the game that broke the Seattle Seahawks hold on the Green Bay Packers. And so that was very special. May have been my first game at Lambeau Field too, which would make it even more special. Who are you texting now?
I'm looking up the stats.
The welcome to week 14 game. Yeah, it was Seahawks. It was later in the season. Week 14, obviously, and it was 17 week, 16 games. Davante Adams had a great game. Aaron Rodgers had a great game. Demarius Randall had one of the picks, that sort of center fielder pick, if I'm remembering right. Quentin Rollins, back when Demarius and Quentin Rollins were actually playing well. believe that. But that game for me was magical. It was absolutely magical after all the heartache that the Seattle Seahawks had handed us.
I'm literally seeing like Packers won the trade for the Devontae Adams trade. Right
Oh,
now.
yeah. It's not going to hit any headlines. It's not going to be really at the top of Google, but it is at the top of my list in terms of.
Apparently, I failed. Smokes. Okay, fine. I failed. I tried.
And how about Brett Favre playing the Raiders after his dad died? I mean, you can't like that. There's so many. The Monday night game there's just so many.
Mm-hmm.
We've been doing it for so long. There's too many great games.
A lot of us mentioned the Cowboys game, the playoff game.
From last season?
Nope. There's no catch.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of us mentioned that one. That
was back. That was back when the NFL knew what a catch was, and they were ready. Yeah.
We were saving that one for a Cowboys fan, and it failed. And I mentioned the Rasul game, the comeback. That was first Rasul game was against his former team, the Cardinals. Mm-hmm. Okay.
There's lots of good ones.
I know. I had to answer that question before, and it's so tough. Like, we all say the Ice Bowl, like, top one.
Mm-hmm. The Ice Bowl is it's the icon of the NFL, in my opinion. There's nothing that comes even close. And you can talk Super Bowl if you want. That was Super Bowl at the time. There's
the coldest game in the history of the league, too.
Right. Well, and the thing is, that was a cold game, and they didn't have a bunch of heaters underneath the field at the time. Like now, it doesn't matter how cold it is. Yeah, the air temperature may be cold, but you're still playing on decent ground. I mean, that was a skating rink at the time.
Oh, wow. Like they say, like the Chiefs and Dolphins broke it last year. No. That's what they say. It was as cold as the Ice Bowl, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, to me, everybody, the only reason people want to break that record is because they want to have something that they can say that was better about that game that they own. They can never say that their game was better than that game. That game is just, it's in my opinion. And I don't care if it was the coldest, second coldest. It was the Ice Bowl. It's the one that got a name with ice in it. The rest of them aren't going to get crap. So. True.
And it's the reason why it's called the Ice Bowl in Green Bay. Because that game was played in Green Bay, too.
Mm-hmm.
Because it gets the... Okay, anyways. That's all the questions that I have for you. Now, do you have any questions for me about the podcast or anything?
Well, how did you get started with this? Is one of my questions. Like, how long have you been doing it? Just a quick, I don't know that much about you. Just met you today.
So that's a lie, because I messaged you from Isaac's chat, actually.
Well, I mean, met like face to face, have a conversation, not a comment.
Whatever. I was like rating his comments that whole night. It was fun.
So now I can't delineate between you and Isaac. Oh man, now I'm confused. I'm in an identity crisis now.
It's okay. You beat my podcast before his, so it's okay. With the longest, pre-recorded, whatever. So we started last November. We're about to be November of 2023. So, and we just celebrated our 6-month anniversary in May this year.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. And we actually, so it's a joke. One of Tom Grossi's biggest things is if you believe it, you can do it. And one of my favorite dreams is Happily Ever After from Disney. So I'm like, I wanted to do a podcast originally, like to talk about NFL. And the reason why I like bring on other people, as you may notice from watching the other episodes, it's because we like to say we are interviewing some of our friends from Twitter or Facebook or something. So that's why we bring you guys on, to get to know you guys more. Because as much as you guys want to learn about us, we want to know more about you. So it's kind of fun that way. And just because of that, we've been making connections. Like I told you, I'm going to announce this now. Sunday, I have Emily. She's one of our main moderators. Emily MAC on Twitter, or she's famous for making a homemade meatball recipe and stuff. She did it.
What time is dinner?
I will send you the recipe because I have it.
Okay, right.
I have it secretly. Well, it was on her Twitter. I can easily ask her for it.
Yeah.
It's no big deal. She said if Aaron Jones does a certain amount of yards, she would do it. And Aaron Jones got that certain amount of yards.
Okay. No, I love that stuff. Yeah, that's fun.
But that's how she started with that. And she was our first guest officially. Officially on podcast I still run on that podcast. That podcast is called the Life of Mary podcast. And it's just like my life. But then that was like the start of MAC, technically. And then Emily was the first guest in that episode, and she's coming back on for her third appearance on the podcast. But and she's like one of our moderators that we have for chat, like Bears fans and stuff. It's kind of fun.
Let's see, I just started Hot Cheese last September, so it was just about the same. Now I'd done them before, but this is the first time in a long time. Yeah, so I mean, you get these up and running that fast. That's congratulations. That's a lot of hard work.
And it's like we have the band. I was going to tell you that. We have, well, you already know us. I'm friends with the Dennis Cockerham Band or Trailer Park Country that did the 2024 tailgate from the draft, and they will be coming on next Wednesday, the 24th. I don't know what time yet. I know they are based in Central Time. So if anyone in the Wisconsin area or the Titans game, if you guys want a tailgate, let me know, and they would probably be glad to write a song for the team. And I do know they might be working on a Packers song. I do know that. Cool. That's all I know.
The world can never have too many Packers songs.
I know there's more teams involved that they have written. I just can't disclose those teams. I'll let them do it next week. And so, like I was saying, so Tom Grossi is our main person, and we are glad that we got him on recently, 2 weeks ago. And Urinating Tree is one of his friends because Clickbait Sports is a show that they do with 5 of them. So it's a Cowboys fan, Broncos fan, Packers fan, Steelers fan.
Be an interesting conversation.
Giants fan.
Do they arm wrestle or do they just out and out brawl?
They talk about sports. The thing is, it's a donation-based thing. So the most money that they get is the punishment.
Oh, okay.
And the chat gets to say like what they get to do.
Oh man, that's just.
So the Cowboys fan, as a joke, had to wear.
That's deer in the headlights.
Cowboys fan had to wear a Packers cheerleader uniform.
I like that. And
a lot. Had to wear it for an episode.
Oh, I like that so much.
Just stupid stuff like that.
Was there any silicone involved and a brassiere?
Tom did have to wear a leotard on an episode.
Well, these Packers need to start going 17-0 because let's protect our podcasters, Packers. Come on now.
And also, I know the Broncos fan because the Chiefs, Taylor Swift. They had to dress up as Taylor Swift, the Broncos fan.
Oh, yeah, that would be, that would be the worst punishment on planet Earth.
Had to say as many Taylor Swift song titles in the episode as much as possible.
Oh, man, there would be zero. I don't even, no. But I think she has a great voice. I'm done with that.
Yeah.
And no,
a lot of people are.
Yeah.
But that's how we started. And it's just
that's cool. Yeah. Well, great.
Like I told you, we had Urinating Tree on, which is one of Tom's friends.
Very cool.
It's just crazy how much we've.
Yeah, I think with what we do, sometimes it's easy to be disconnected because you can do what you do without connecting with people. But I think the ones that make an effort to connect find a whole lot richer experience because of it.
My audience is going to kill me. This is the longest episode ever, officially pre-recorded. I will tell you that. Urinating Tree had 40 minutes pre-recorded. That's okay. Final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Tomorrow's Friday. You're going into a weekend, and this is the last weekend before Packer football, folks. Packer Nation has every reason to be very excited right now. We've got a couple joint practices against the Broncos, against the Ravens. We've got a lot of work to do on defense, but this is a team that is this team. If there's ever been a team that's primed, that isn't primed because they just won the Super Bowl, this team is primed. I think we got a lot to be excited about. And training camp starts Monday, guys. All you got to do is get through tomorrow, have a safe and happy and fun weekend, and Packer football is back.
Yes. Well, and then we have August, but. Well, then it's football, so it's not really.
It's Packer football. We're gonna have real stuff to talk about. There are those that want to beat the drum about how it doesn't matter, the reps don't matter. No, we're seeing this team. This is an incredibly important part of this team's growth and development right now. And it starts at training camp. It starts in OTAs, but I mean, you don't see anything. Right. And the Packers do as good a job as anybody at welcoming people to come in and observe their training camps. And this team, it all starts Monday. A Super Bowl run starts in training camp.
Also, the Dream Drive is coming up too.
Oh, yeah. Do you know? I don't know dates on that.
I have not heard any dates yet. I'm sure it's going to be soon, though.
Yeah.
That they announce it.
And they had, or did they? I think they already had. They had a charity run that they did too, I think, up there.
I think so.
I wanted to do that one, but I'm not getting up there this year.
See, I don't know if my hips can handle it. Oh, there is. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Where can our amazing audience find you of almost 80 subscribers?
Yeah, Facebook.com/Green Bay Packer Nation.
Oh, that's easy.
Everything we do is branded Packer Nation or Green Bay Packer Nation. You can find me on X, and that's Packer Nation probably. But yeah, the Facebook page is where I do my live show. I do a live daily show at noon Central, 1 o'clock Eastern.
Okay.
And you can get connected to all of my stuff, or if you have any questions or you want to jump on, or heaven forbid, become a supporter, you can do that there. So.
Whatever. If you want Justin or I on your guys' show, let me know. We can.
Yeah, I think that's a yes. I'm in the process of replanning and recasting Hot Cheese for this coming season.
Perfect.
But yep, we'll catch up with you.
Yay. I should probably say what shows I have coming up. So, like I said, I am recording an episode tomorrow. I think at like 6 p.m. Eastern. I don't know. It's gonna be a pre-recorded because we don't like doing lives on that channel. It's on The Life of Mary, and then next week I have 3 episodes as well. It's wild. I have Dennis Cockerham. Well, Midwestern Chaos is starting a new channel too. That's like the Bears and Packer fan. We're going to be talking about all the trades from 2022 to current. So Justin Fields, Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams is all in play. Oh, dear Lord. And DJ Moore is part of it too. It's going to be tough, but I'll do it. And then I did start a new podcast recently called the Disnerd, Disnerd and Pixar. It's going to be a Disney movie and a Pixar movie show that we're going to do. My friend Cassie, she's in Milwaukee. Her and I are going to do that. We're going to be doing Wicked when it comes out. We're doing Mufasa. We're doing Wonka. We're doing because her and I are big Wicked fans of the Broadway already. So when we heard they're doing a movie about it, we're like, we better cover that right away. But we're going to do Wizard of Oz. We're going to be doing The Wiz. We're doing Zootopia, Moana, and Frozen and everything. It's going to be tough, but fun.
You see, I'm deer in the headlights. I don't know any of that stuff except The Wizard of Oz. I got that.
See, I'm like a huge Disney freak because I live like 2.5 hours away from Disney World.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're close. Yeah.
So it's like fun. Discord, stop. Okay. And you can find us at Mac Podcast 2023. I think that's the Twitter. Yeah. I don't know anymore. And then the Mac Podcast 365 is the YouTube. And then we have Mac and Cheese Podcast on Facebook. Yeah. Anything else you want to tell our amazing people?
That is good for me. Other than Go Pack Go.
Yeah, Go Pack Go.